Hello friends, welcome back. I'm Beth, here to help you fulfill your potential in meditation. As most of you know, I don't have just one method that I teach to everybody, like one size fits all. Instead, I much prefer to teach people one-on-one. And the reason is that you're all different. So please use these videos as a guideline, and if there's anything that isn't quite working for you, anything that doesn't quite fit, then be in touch and I'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you individually. Today's video is on this topic of when distractions arise in meditation, which for most of us, to be honest, is quite often. How do we know which of those distractions to ignore and which of those distractions to engage with? Now, if we are engaging with every distraction that arises, trying to be skillful and look at every distraction, then we're not going to be able to make any progress because there'll be no time left to focus on our meditation objects. But equally, if we have the strategy of ignoring all distractions and just focus on our object, then we can create quite a lot of tension in the practice through the force needed to ignore those distractions. So how do we know where the balance point is? How do we know which distractions need our attention and which distractions need to be ignored? I'll say up front, this is more of an art than a science, but I do want to give a little simile that might help give some perspective. So the simile is that we are in our meditation hut. In monastic life, we call this our kuti. So we're in our kuti meditating, and we're in quite a busy monastery, let's say. So as we're in our kuti meditating, there are people walking past our kuti and they're talking to each other. Some of them might be singing a song. They're going about their day, making their different noises. Now those people we can ignore. That sound we can just ignore. We can continue to meditate. But every now and again, somebody might come and knock on the door. Now when somebody comes to knock on the door, we can ignore them the first time and we can continue meditating. And they might go away if it's not very important. But if they knock on our door a second time, then we better go and open the door. We better go and welcome them in and ask them what it is they want. Treat them as a friend. Hi friend, welcome, come in. What is it that you want? How can I help you? It might be something really important or something not quite important. And once we've given our friend what they need, then we can allow them to leave and we can continue with our meditation practice. Now it works in exactly the same way with the disturbances that come up in meditation. There might be certain disturbances that are there, but they feel like they're kind of in the background. They're not urgently calling for our attention. This might be things like background sounds, background thoughts that are happening, maybe some low-level emotion that's easy to ignore. There might also be some pains in the body that aren't so urgently calling our attention. All of these things, we can ignore them and we can just continue to focus on our meditation object. But from time to time in the practice, there might be a disturbance that comes in and really calls our attention. It might be an urgent pain in the body, it might be a sudden sound, it might be a really strong emotion that arises or a repetitive thought that we can't ignore. Now, if this distraction comes up only once, like maybe somebody hits a loud gong, you hear it once, you're disturbed, but it doesn't happen again. We can also ignore it and we can just keep on meditating. But if something's calling our attention urgently, repeatedly, it's what needs our attention. Now notice, when we give it our attention, we give it our welcome. We don't want to give it our attention with annoyance. Oh, stop disturbing me. Not in this way. Welcome. What is it that you want from my attention? Almost always what these disturbances want up front is our acceptance. So we can start with acceptance, and on top of that, when we really listen to these disturbances, there might be something else that they want. So we can engage our wisdom, we can engage our investigation and see if we can meet the needs of these disturbances and return our mind to peace. Now notice, when we were in the kuti, once we had spoken with our friend, once we had asked them what they wanted and they were satisfied, we also let them leave. And this is a really important part of working with disturbances, that we let them leave. Sometimes in meditation there can be this subtle inclination to cling to the disturbances because they're slightly more engaging or compelling than our meditation object. Maybe we've already been with our meditation object for a long time and now here's a big juicy emotion, or here's something in the body that's a bit more compelling. And so there can be some subtle clinging to the disturbances, wanting them to stay a little bit longer to give us something interesting to do. In that way we limit our progress. So once we've resolved the disturbance, once we've brought our acceptance and our wisdom to it, we can also let it go. Let it leave and return our attention to our meditation object. Now, as I said, this is more of an art than a science. It's something that we all need to learn the balance of throughout many trial and errors in our own practice. I mean this instruction only as a guideline to give you some idea of how to work with disturbances when they come up for you. What I would suggest is that you get off of the screens, get onto the meditation cushion and start putting this into practice. Play around for yourselves with when it works for you to ignore disturbances and when it works for you to engage with them. If you're encountering any difficulty, if anything doesn't work for you, then be in touch with me and I'll be more than happy to discuss those things with you individually. As most of you know, I do all of my work on a donation basis, so I encourage you to support me either through my website or through Patreon. You can find out about how to do that just underneath this video. Thank you so much for your support. Wishing you the best with your meditation.